here is the outline of today's presentation. First of all, I will briefly talk about motivation and the goals of my study. And then I will talk about the method that is the most important part for today's presentation, that is the teaching activities. I have it done in the past semester. And then in the final part, I will talk about the findings and my reflection. So let's get started. So why motivation? Why do I want to choose motivation as my action plan, action research? As vocational teachers, Australian people call we vocational high school teachers, vocational teachers. As vocational teachers, I believe we all encounter the same difficulty or problems from time to time. That is, our students don't have the strong motivation for learning English because they always consider the professional subjects are more important than English. So that is the one thing. And another thing I would like to talk about motivation is being a vocational high school teachers is not easy. High school English teachers is not easy. Being a vocational industrial high school teachers is even more difficult. Because the industrial high school entails your students are mostly boys. And we all know that boys are sometimes hard to control. And most of them are so-called kinesthetic types of learners. It's hard for them to sit there patiently, listen to you, and without falling asleep. So I don't blame them for this because I keep on thinking sometimes I use too much grammar, too many difficult words to overwhelm the students. So I think maybe I can do something else to arouse their interest instead of just keep on giving them lots of difficult grammar and the vocabulary. And of course, from the literature review, we can see a lot of the researchers or scholars talk about the importance of motivations on learning and of course on the second language acquisition. So, such as Brown, a big name, and some scholars in Taiwan as well. So that's the reason why I want to talk about motivation, and I want to try to do something to arouse my students' motivation for learning English. And the goals here, so my action plan, the goals is to enhance students' motivations and also to get students more involved in class. And hopefully can formulate their own learning preferences, which can aid their academic performance. So, and the methods, the subjects are the second graders from the comprehensive high school programs, and their PR level is about 70. And they were considered passive learners, of course, compared with the students of the general senior high schools in Taiwan. And the materials I use in this class include Studio Classroom magazines, and I also did a motivation questionnaire before and after this semester, trying to see whether the students' motivation levels did increase or not. And finally, I also conducted self-made interviews with my students to see whether their opinions about these semester's activities. In the previous semester, in the last semester, actually I did a lot of activities in this class. Roughly speaking, I did about 8 activities, 2 for each skills. But due to the time limits, today I will just introduce to you 4 for each activity. Listening, speaking, reading, and writing. So these are the 4 activities I would like to introduce to you. For the listening ones, I will introduce you a website, and the speaking one, I will introduce you one picture dictionary dialogue. And if we got time, I will talk about the Pechakucha. And the third one is the jigsaw reading, and the final one is the writing dictation about writing. So as I mentioned before, I use the pre-test and post-test to do the motivation questionnaire to assess my students' motivation intensity, and also the self-constructed interview questions to see the reasons for their motivation change, if any, and also to find out what are their favorites and what are the activities they don't like that much. So for the first one about the listening, this is a website introduced by the QT teachers, and also the teachers in QT also demonstrated to us how to teach students listening by using this website. So for the warm-up parts, the teacher taught us, I also did this in my class, we have to use a picture. And by using these pictures, I ask my students to come up with some words related to this picture. And this kind of activity will serve as a schemata to build up students' competence for the later listening task. And also the QUT teachers taught us, this is the brochure or the pamphlet I took from the information center on Queen Street. And this is authentic materials. And QUT teachers taught us to take as many as we can. So very authentic. And then after this, I will give my students the handouts with some questions to answer, like this. This is the handout with some discussion questions. That is actually the listening comprehension questions for students to answer. And then we will go to listen. And then we will go to watch and listen the video clip provided by this website. And after listening, I allowed my student time to complete the handouts with the given questions. And for the read-up part, I discussed the answers in class with the whole class to make sure they got all the questions, got all the answers right. Now let me just show you the website. Sorry, because I don't know how to use the super link. This is the website, and you can just key in the related topic you want to. Related topic, such as some topic related to our textbook, and trying to find out the video like this one to play for your students' listening practice. And the length of these videos is about 3 to 4 minutes, so not too long and not too short for the listening practice in class. And one more excellent thing about this website is it also provided you with all the transcripts. So after the listening task, I also gave my students the transcript to make sure they understood the listening 100%. Not really 100% actually. And also, in this website, it also provides you with some teachers' aids, teachers' kits or something. You can also try to find out something from some information here. So this is the listening activity I did in the last semester. And for the second one, the picture dictionary conversation. This activity is quite easy and quite interesting for students and also for myself. And we just paired up your students and gave each pair a page of a picture dictionary, such as this one. And this is a picture dictionary about an intersection on the street. And then we will give the students a street of post-it notes, post-it sticker, and ask your students to draw their face, draw a face of themselves, or draw as well as their names, write down their names on this sticker, and put the stickers on wherever they would like themselves to be on the streets, such as this one. And then you can ask your students to have a conversation practice by using these kind of activity. But some people might doubt, if two people are so far away from one another, how can they have conversation? So don't worry, QUT teachers also think about this. So they told us, we can imagine we were in a telephone conversation. So here are some questions we can use, we can follow, such as, where are you? What are you doing? And what do you plan to do in the afternoon? Do you want to go to the movie with me? And such and so on and so on. So this is about speaking, picture dictionary speaking activity. And then we can move on to the reading one, the jigsaw reading. In design, jigsaw reading is a little bit more complicated than the previous two, but it's not so difficult actually. So first of all, you have to divide the class. I divided my class into 4 groups because lucky me, I have only 28 students in this class. So I divided my students into 4 groups, and each group is given the same colored sheet with focus questions, such as this one. So 4 groups, 4 colors. And then I asked each group to read silently the focus questions. Okay, for their part, the focus questions for their part, like the group 1 students, they only have to focus on the group 1 question section here, and they have to try to predict the answers to them, and then discuss the answers in groups. After that, I gave the students the reading task, and this time I asked my students to read specifically for the answers to the focus questions. And after all this, I regrouped the students. And in the new grouping, each group contains only 4 students. That is the 4 colored people. The people from different colors, they have to come together to form a new group. And the members in the new groups, they have to share their answers with their new group members to get overall pictures of the reading task. And finally, I did a whole class discussions, again trying to make sure that the students really understand the reading task and that they really got the answers to all the focus questions. So this is about the jigsaw reading one. And this is the time they were practicing the jigsaw reading. So from here, I can say that my students did engage themselves, got more involved in the class, instead of just sit there, listen to you, and fall asleep. Okay, and the final one about the running. About writing, I will talk about the running dictation. And actually, running dictation did not only about writing. It actually takes about all of your listening, speaking, reading, and the writing skills. So for the one parts of the running dictation, I taught the reading task first, trying to make sure students understood the task very well. And then I asked the students to read the text aloud. Okay, trying to make sure they know how to read the pronunciation of each word. And for the main teaching parts, I pinned the reading text up on the walls outside the classroom, but with a bigger size paper. And I also paired up the students, and each pair must choose one person to be the runner, and the other one the scribe. So the runner the rule of the running dictation is very easy. The runner must go to the text on the wall and to memorize as much as he or she can, and then run back to the scribe to dictate whatever she or he just memorized. And the pair that finishes the dictating all first wins the game. Of course, I gave them some little presents, also from Australia. I forgot to bring the little koala doll, keyring. Yeah, very cheap actually. To the students as well, but they were very happy. So this is the time when they were doing the running dictation, and I will show you the video. Very busy. We got an American students in our class. And then we can talk about the Patrick job because I think the time is still enough. So the Patrick job is actually very easy. We can just take a look at the PowerPoint file. Pachakucha, the idea of Pachakucha is very easy. That is the 20 slides for 20 seconds. That is to say, students have to, you have to make the PowerPoint files and with 20 slides and ask the students to talk about anything about the slides for only 20 seconds. After 20 seconds, the slide will just automatically go, okay, follows to the next one. And here you can also find out some websites. Actually, just go to YouTube and type Pachakucha, and then there are lots of training slides about Pachakucha. So last semester, I taught my students to trying to use this kind of activity to talk about Kaohsiung, the city we are living in. So they were kind of excited about this one. So for example, like this one, they have to talk about these pictures for 20 seconds. Like this is fireworks, and that is the tallest buildings in Kaohsiung City, and this is the river, very beautiful, and something. Okay, and so let's just keep on talking about these stuff about Kaohsiung. And this is our mayor. Okay? And then some people even say, "Well, she's the most beautiful girl," something like that. Yeah. And so this is the activity. So that's all my activity, and then finally I will talk about the findings. As I mentioned, I did a pre-test and post-test, trying to assess my students' motivation intensity. And from the pre-test, the mean of their score, the mean score is 2.79, and the post-test 2.93. And lighter scale, lighter 5-point scale. And I didn't, because some flaws of my research design, so I could not testify the significance levels by using the pair sample test. But I used the qualitative perspective trying to make it up. That is my interviews. So in the interviews, I interviewed 6 students, 2 from the high, 2 middle, and 2 low proficiency level group of the students. And all 6 of them confirmed the positive effects of these interactive activities on their English learning motivation. And they also mentioned about the reasons for their motivation change are about, yes, these activities are more interesting, and they are more confident in speaking in front of others because they have the chances to speak up in front of in class. And as we can see from the pictures and the video, yes, I believe my students got more involved in class. And what are they liking or disliking for the practicing activities? Actually, students did not, these students interviewed, they did not mention any specific activity they like the best. But the scholar disliked one. Some of them mentioned about the running meditation because they said it's too tiring for them to just run class. And some of them also pointed out because they still, even I taught them the pronunciation first, they still did not know how to pronounce certain words. So it will kind of pose some anxiety on them. So they are kind of anxious when doing this kind of activity. And also some people mentioned about the Pachakucha. They don't really like the Pachakucha, though it seems very interesting because I guess it's my design because I just presented the students with the PowerPoint file and take a draw and ask them to say something. They said it's too exciting, too terrible. So they kind of too anxious for the students. So this is the activity they don't like that much. Finally, my teacher reflection. By doing these interactive activities in class, of course, I found the class more likable and more interesting, even for the teachers myself. But of course, because those are all activity-based teaching, so it's more demanding for the teacher. teachers because you have a lot of preparation work beforehand. And as I mentioned before, my goal originally I plan to see whether I can successfully transfer students' motivation and arousal to their academic performance. But the result is uncertain because I also do a cross-section analysis to see the students who feel they are more interested in the class and their academic performance, but still some of them were flunked by me. Okay, so I cannot make a certain answer about whether this did help them in terms of the academic performance. But I guess maybe it's about the time. Now they may start to get to learn English, and maybe in the future they will learn step by step and to make themselves better English learners and to do better on those pencil-paper tests on the exams. And as I mentioned before, some students were overwhelmed by the fast speed by me. So that is one thing I have to be aware, and also by some of the demanded tasks like the speaking ones. And so finally, I would like to conclude the presentation by saying, by doing these interactive activities, by these insights, again, I have gained from these activities. I hope I can better prepare myself and better sharpen my teaching skills, and hopefully I can generate better learners as well. That's all my presentation. Thank you. So, any questions?
If you have a question, you can ask a question. No.
So how about time? How much time did I take? How much time? Do I still have time?
Yeah, it's fine.
22? Yes, I
have. What does PR70 mean?
PR70 means they were the learners about the upper 30% in this area. They are the top 30% students in this area. Yeah.
In English or in general academic?
In general academic performance. Yeah. In general.
Excuse me. Yeah. May I know how many hours per week your students have in English?
Lucky me, because this is a comprehensive high school program, so I will granted 2 extra hours for
So
this
total
class.
how many hours?
In total, we have about 18 weeks plus 2 hours, so approximately about 30 hours. Each week only 2 hours. Only 2 hours. For this class, their English class, totally they have 8 plus 1, 9 hours.
Oh my
So, whenever you do these activities, you start off feeling that you're blind, right?
Yeah.
And every time you do it, you see a little more, and you change things a little more. Did you find that one of the problems you encountered when you did it the first time was the students focused on getting the answer, not on doing the activity, so they would cheat?
No, actually, they didn't read, because for these activities, I told them no scores for these activities. So in this class, English literature class, all of them passed, and I also gave them a lot of, I gave them the high scores, because I told them what I value is the participation. As long as you participate in these activities, I will just let you pass with a high score. So they don't really have this problem, because they know there is no anything to judge my performance or not. What they have to do is just to engage in class and try to find out the answers. Yeah, so I didn't see any one of them doing such a thing.
So your student classroom that you are teaching material.
Yeah.
So how do you calculate?
Because the still classroom material is just like we have to read the magazines every week, and for such, but I didn't use all the materials. I was just like for the running presentation. For example, after I taught them this article for this week, and then we will have to follow up activity like running presentation. So I didn't use all the material, all the articles from the magazines in this class. I just randomly choose some which are easier or interesting to the students to do these activities, to design some activities. So the magazine is just the kind of like the base of the base materials in this class. Yes. Any other questions? Yeah.
One other question. With the running dictation, you had a scribe and you had a runner.
Yeah.
Did they change positions at all?
No.
Right.
They didn't change the position. Yeah, actually the QT teachers taught us about it. Sometimes we can have some variations such as like this. I didn't do this.
Yeah. That's all right. Everybody does everything differently, and everybody does it according to their situation. But you may do it, and then someone else says, "Yeah, I did it, and I tried this." And so, yeah, changing the role. Sometimes one student says, "It's not fair. I'm writing. He's just running." Right? And the runner sometimes thinks, "It's not fair. I'm getting tired." I don't know. How can they get tired?
Yeah, and
But they think they are.
and one more thing is about if they change the roles, the scribe can run to the reading task outside of the classroom, and that he or she can see the task, and then from his memory instead of just from the runner. Yeah, so that is one more thing about the changing role. So I didn't do that.
They do find it very hard to remember.
Yeah. So I didn't give them the very long text. That's only one piece of B4 size paper. Yeah, just part of the reading, not all.
As for the activity design, so how many hours do you take to complete all the project?
You mean all the activities? So as I mentioned, 2 hours for this class each week for the English 3O class, and 2 hours. We have about 80 weeks, so total is about 36 hours.
36 hours?
36 hours in the semester.
Class time. Class time.
Class time.
How about preparation time?
You mean my preparation? I didn't count it. Actually, not that much as you might imagine. Yeah, because I have only 3 class hours on Friday. This class is on Friday, and so I just sometimes I'm free on Thursday night, so I just did a preparation work on Thursday night to prepare for that. I didn't really count the time I spent on this project.
So the project lasts one semester?
Yeah, one semester. For the whole
And every
semester.
week students do some activities?
Yeah, because as you see, we have an American student, so I cannot speak the grammar things, vocabulary to her. That she will feel very bored. So I just take advantage of this chance to get our students to speak up. They have to speak English because we have an American student in our class. And this year we have a German student in my class. So they will go on the activities.
Students must be very happy.
They are they are very happy. Yeah. Any other questions? Okay. Now, thank you for your listening. Thank you for your attention.
Very good. Thank you. Excellent. Now you can relax. Sometimes. Maybe I'll pause. Maybe we should check the microphone. Is anyone finding it difficult to hear with the air? Is it just me?
It's too loud.
Okay.
Okay. Okay. Hello, Professor John and fellow teachers. My name is Andy Chen. I am an English teacher at Zhongzhen Industrial High School. I'm so delighted that many of my colleagues have joined us. I'm here to present my action plan. The topic is reading another textbook to enhance students' English competence through group study. Here's an overview of my presentation. First, I will begin with background information. Second, I'll move on to problems and solutions. Third, I will talk about strategies and theories. After that, I'll put much emphasis on teaching activities and procedures. Next, I will introduce evaluation and reflection. Finally, is the conclusion. I like this part most. Where did I get the idea? There are two reasons. First, I was inspired by Happy English Club. It's a club holds weekly meeting on Saturday afternoons. It's in the format of the group study. There are two sessions in the group study. One is free talk, the other is article discussion. Free talk, you can see, it's just like you can talk about any topic you like. And article discussion, discussion leader prepares one article with 4 to 5 questions. This is the main part I'm most interested in. Second, of course, I learned something from Australia's courses, from Lawrence courses. I learned I need to create community in the classroom and learn how to implement cooperative learning in our class. As for my students' background information, my students' PR value is around 70. I think it's the same with another industrial high school. My students, they are 12th graders in comprehensive high school. They just complete science test, but the results are not so satisfying. About 38 students, 8 of them passed GEPT elementary level. Most of them are not very competent and diligent in regard to English. When I started working with my students, these 4 issues, I think I need to solve it. Most of the students rely heavily on teacher's translation, and they have to read the article word by word to get a full understanding of it. As a teacher, I hope they can speed up their reading pace and enjoy reading the article independently. So I address these 4 issues in my action plan. How do I teach textbook reading more efficiently? How do I get students to talk in English more? How do I hold students responsible for their own reading? How do I connect English with students' daily life? Here comes solutions. I think only through group study can they share their life experience in English. Of course, this can lower their fear of speaking English. They can learn collaboratively. And the last part is they are required to finish their reading task prior to the discussion. They not just read for exam. So the pressure comes from their group members or from their group, not just from teachers. About theories and strategies. This is not teacher-oriented, but the teacher should be a supervisor or collaborator. So I can walk around. I can be quite relaxed in the class. So I can just monitor each group's work. Second one is extensive reading. Because they are 12th graders, they need to read quickly. So I hope they can develop their reading fluency. Of course, cooperative learning, they take turns completing the assigned worksheet each week. About group discussion, they can share what they read and what they think with one another. Finally, inquiry-based learning. Because in the group discussion, they need to talk about the article. So I ask them to raise the question about the article. And this kind of strategy, inquiry, makes them think about the article in a deeper way. So I like this kind of inquiry-based learning. Not just read for the test, read for exam. So they just do the multiple choice after they finish their reading. As for the teaching activities and procedure, first I will talk about grouping. In this semester, I did 3 types of grouping. The first one is gender concerned. Because the female students is minorities in my class. We just have 10 or 11. So I try to balance 2 sets in each group. So the first one I just considered about the gender part. After the first midterm, I shuffle their pre-group. So I drew lots and shuffle 2 of them to different groups. So it's on a large scale. After the second midterm exam, I want to do some changes on this kind of grouping. So at the last grouping, I do the group about their level. So according to their review test results. So I will make it like S-style arrangement. I hope I can balance each group's level. So I did 3 types of this kind of grouping. Why should I do this things a lot? Because students, they always complain. They do not like to be in a group with someone. So they will always complain that, oh, I don't want to do this because he is so lazy and he is not cooperative. So I think a lot of grouping in my activity. About classroom setting, students are divided into groups of 4 to 5. Usually the number is 4. Each group sits together with 2 tables combined, and usually the table's place depends on its group leader. because the group leader is much more powerful than his group members. So he says, I want to sit here, so my group members should come and sit next to him. Of course, this way is easier to monitor each group in the classroom. Weekly rules in each group. 4 rules usually are fixed for each group members rotating to play, and during the first and second midterm exam, teachers shuffle the numbers in each group. Student 1 should be the group leader who also take notes. So he or she didn't need to before the discussion. But student 2 should be the first article reader, and so on and so forth. But the next week, student 1 should be the first article reader, but student 2 should be the second article reader. But the student 4 shifted to become the group leader who also take notes. So each week we have the rotating play. When it comes to rules for group study, each lesson reader must finish the reading assignment, so they should be familiar with the content and write a summary. So the write summary is in class, so they cannot write it down on their paper sheet. So I will check it. So it's not legal. So I will tear the papers out. So you should rewrite your own. So in the class, I'm quite strict on this. Of course, they need to raise 3 questions for in-class discussion, at least 1 open-ended question. Before my action plan, before I practice my action plan, I will teach them how to raise open-ended question, so they know the strategies. Time for group study is the same with the every class. I almost every week I use 2 classes in succession, and it's the same on Friday. So I will do this kind of work on Friday. So I hope they can brainstorm their idea in group and write the worksheet. Because they are already 12th graders, they need to write 120 composition. So I hope first I will make them to write the composition. The writing worksheet is not too difficult. So in the last semester, I gave them the task is to this work. Goals for group study. Of course, the group study, we have some goals on this part. I hope they can train their oral and writing skills. The group study can lower their anxiety in using English, of course, because they sit in a group and they can talk something. Maybe they do not want the teacher to listen yet. Enjoy sharing information with classmates. And of course, the last one, foster their independent learning skills. So let's take a look at the worksheet that I designed. So I give the title and the date, put on the headings, have their names, and first they should write down the keywords and the short summary of sentence pattern. Of course, we'll give them the question part. So at least 1 student give 3 questions. So 3 students, they will totally have the 9 questions. Review test for group study. Because I am a traditional teacher, so I will do in a traditional way. So I'll give you a review test to make sure every student has already learned the content in the 3 articles. So we check it out the review test. After the discussion, the next week they will have this kind of review test. First one is the vocabulary part, occupied 50%, and the second part is closed part, take up 30%. Finally, the students feel more difficult in the fill in the blank part. It takes up 20% because they need to take the entrance exam, so they need to practice on this part. Next, we'll go to the correcting papers at the group study, because each week they will finish their worksheet, so the teacher should correct and grade their worksheet. So it's a much tough things for teachers to do, but hopefully, because it's a group work, so it's not like every week you will have 40 papers you need to correct them. So it maybe just have the 80 papers in each week. So it's not so tough for teachers to do that. We'll see that it's their it's their worksheet. So I will give them the scores and correct some grammatic errors. If some groups finish the worksheet earlier than others, teachers can interview them about the article, because teachers, you can see what they've done on their worksheet, and you can ask some questions about it. Why do you use this kind of pens or something? So you can interview about each group independently. And the last class, give students a class evaluation form to get a feedback from them. We'll see the evaluation form. This is the evaluation form I designed for my action plan. So I will design 70 questions and 1 open-ended question. These 70 questions, I want to collect the qualitative results, and this is the it's quantitative results. And the open-ended question is that I want to collect their quantitative. As for my personal reflection, there are 2 sides on it. Positive sides, students increase their autonomy in learning English. They improve their reading and writing skills, arouse their critical thinking in various articles. Also, we have the negative side. Some students, they lack the willingness to discuss, because some students, they think it's a good work, so maybe they do not need to do so much work. So some will lack the willingness to discuss, and some of them have trouble coming up with an open-ended question related to the article. These are positive results from my evaluation form of group study. We can see these 2 items are ranked highest in agreement. I understand the goal and purpose of the group study. I feel comfortable supporting when discussing in groups. Also, the second one is I got improved in English reading. Through group study, I know what others or I can do well from different angles. So it's the positive results. Of course, we have the negative results. These two items are ranked highest in disagreement. They are, I get, improved in English listening because lots of students, they talk in Chinese a lot. But sometimes they will use the English. And second one is I can summarize the main idea of the article in 50 words quickly after reading it. I think it's much more difficult, but it's unavoidable. They need to do the writing work by themselves. They need to pass the entrance exam. About students' feedback, they learn how to cooperate with each other in a team. Of course, the action plan, the group study encouraged him to speak English more, not just sit there, listen to the teachers. So write down every keywords. I think it's a little bit boring. They learn how to manage time. Time management is quite important because they need to finish their worksheet in 2 hours. So if they cannot speak up their rate, maybe they cannot do it well, this part. I learned to fulfill my test on time before class because they need to do so. So as to help each other to discuss. If I have any question, I can ask someone in my group immediately. The last one is teaching someone else helps me learn. So it's always we say teaching is learning. So they can teach their friends, teach their classmates, and they can learn something. Here's I like most conclusion. Teachers should learn to be a guide, not a lecturer. So I think teacher should take care of each student's need. So not just talk, but I think what is important. So I can give each student's need. Which sentence they cannot write correctly, so I can give some advice on it. Correcting students' worksheet is labor and time consuming, but you will be amazed at their improvement in the process because they can learn how to write the essay or the worksheet quickly. The last one is creating a dynamic classroom is the spice of teaching and learning. So we need to some change in our teaching style. So after this, I learned something. The last, I will quote the saying I learned last year. Using English to learn, rather learning English in class. If the student, they just know 500 words. So they will make use of their 500 words to write or to speak. I think it's enough. Because in vocational high school, we should put much emphasis on practical English, but not those academic English. So I think I need to help students to write or to speak in their survival English. We'll see our students, taken from our students, their practical suggestions of my group study. I'm sorry. Yeah. Okay.
写英文变得更流畅，就不会像以前一样，就是会觉得写英文好像要把它变得很复杂。然后就是因为透过这样的课程，然后我们上课的时候，就是有问题自己解决，那就是不是什么东西都是老师直接教给我们的，而且就是透过这样子的方式，就是让我们就是解决问题会增加我们的信心感，就是变得会增加自己的信心，不会觉得英文被洗了。
对，就是太多人就是都交给一个人处理，然后变成其他人都在聊天，然后 应该就是给每个人都有一个工作这样，然后这样就可以分配的好好，就不会变成大家都只有一个人在做，然后就是可以，就是都不要用中文讲，就是要整个都规定成用英文讲，然后比较好。OK， 就这样。OK， 是像工作量有时候不平均，然后可能需要更严密的机制去分配好工作，这样大家才能就是一起快乐学习英文。然后我个人喜欢这个上课方式，因为其实我是一个不喜欢去，我有那个习惯去阅读英文的人。然后我因为这个课程，然后为了团队合作，所以我就努力回家查，然后就学到更多东西。
OK，
我觉得对上，如果英文比较要带领对上英文比较差一点，这样大家也多学习，不会让会在那边也没事做，也感到也没有这么多机会。然后我觉得这个比较接近于生活化，因为如果从生活学习英文这样一个效果，一般不太好。我觉得自己要确定什么。我刚未来一部分呢，就是座位的部分，就是会分的比较自私化，就是不然这样会导致说，空间的分配跟读书的东西有关系。但是如果自私，就是说位置比较自私化的话，对大家的旁边是什么会比较进步。
Any questions? Professor John?
I always have questions. Are you the only teacher doing this at your school?
What?
Are you the only teacher doing this at your school?
Yeah.
Are other teachers watching and waiting to see what happens? Are your colleagues interested in what you're doing?
My colleagues? Yeah, I like to do something silently. So I'm not sure. I like to boast about what I'm doing. So I just sneakily, do something.
It's like a top secret mission. Okay.
Okay.
That's good, because if it's successful, you can tell everybody a nice surprise. If it's not successful, nobody knows.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. So.
You divide the whole class into 4 or 5 groups? The whole groups?
No, 8 or 9. Because in each group there are 4 members, 4 students in each group. Yeah.
I think that 4 people is quite good for group discussion.
Mm-hmm.
But students also say that some people always one or two some people do things and others just rest.
Yeah.
So do you have any suggestion for improve after this experiment?
Mm-hmm.
You practice, and do you have any suggestion for improve this kind of situations? I mean that some students always do things and others always rest to do nothing.
Yeah, because it's the selected courses, they need to write the composition or essay. So I hope they can do something in a group work, not just do the writing by himself. I think it's a little bit boring. But I think I didn't think about the solution about this kind of part, because some students they hope they can do nothing in class. Even you give them the activities, they just hope they can just sit there and watch their group members, what they are doing, so it's none of his business. So some students, they will show their attitudes like that.
Favorite students.
My suggestion is put them together. Put the lazy student together.
Did so.
I have a question regarding the reading materials. Your title is about reading another textbook by another textbook, so you have another textbook, or you just randomly chose any materials?
No, I just choose another textbook. So I prefer semi textbooks. I use it, for their outside reading, so they can read something. Because after they read some materials, and they can write something on the worksheet. Okay. Let's welcome our next presenter.
This microphone, I haven't checked this in.
Should we take a break?
Maybe a minute or so while you're getting ready. There's no rush. We have until 12:30 for lunch. Lunch is 12:30.
Yeah, still one more before the break.
Is that clearer than the other microphone?
Yeah.
So, yeah, this one has a lot of noise in the background. Anyone for karaoke? No? You have karaoke in the past time?
I think you have to endure 20 more minutes before the break, the delicious lunch. Okay? And I'm from Charlton Agriculture Vocational Senior High School, and I doubt whether you know the location of Charlton. It's a faraway rural side along the highway to Kenton Park. It is a rather poorly located district. So, as you know, it is agriculture. So, compared with Eric's and Andy's students, my students is the poorest. the most disadvantaged. Even though they are in senior high, but in my opinion and in my eyes, their level are in primary school or even much better than primary school, but lower than junior high. So I think it is the hardest for an English teacher like me to teach a vocational school students, especially in agriculture, rural, senior high school, okay? So, in my opinion, I think that simplicity, and how do I say it? Flexibility is the method of teaching. I don't want to teach them grammar. I don't want to teach them writing or reading. It is in the habit of reading. Okay, all I have to do is that my approach is to drawing or enhance attention and interest of raw achieving students in English class at remote rural vocational high school. Okay, rural. So maybe I will start my presentation. No, not presentation, it's a chat. Okay. So next one, I should switch. Next one, okay. Okay, my motivation, just how to make students get interested in opening their mouth to speak another language. Just open. The best demand of me, just ask them to open their mouths. No, they are too lazy to open their mouths to say anything. The only thing they have to do is just resting or sleeping or playing games. Playing games with their iPhone or mobile phone. So you have to draw their attention, okay? How to get students involved in classroom activity. You know, voluntarily and enthusiastically. Okay, that's the main problem of me, okay? How to draw their attention, okay? And then how to teach linguistic sounds rather than phonetic symbols to students, okay? And the last one, how to make teaching more vivid to arouse students' motivation for learning English. I just think that if they have the motivation to learn something, not just English, I think their life will be full of hope for the future. Otherwise, it's nothing. Yeah, my humble opinion, okay? That's it, okay? Background information of my students, I divided into two parts. The first one, agriculture vocational senior high school students. And the second, they are first grader, just coming from nearby junior high school in Pinton County. So because of their parents' financial status and social status, okay, I would rather say that nearly some of them are deserted by family or by the teachers, maybe in junior high or even in primary school, okay? So that's it. They are very poor. You know, poor means two things. Maybe that's a financial status, concerned, and maybe just feeling concerned, confidence concerned, okay? Regarded as learning disadvantaged English learner due to parents' social status. And you know that 2 years or 3 years ago, there's a big flood in Pinton County and that area. Some of my students, no, not some, nearly, most of my students are from this area. So parents have to find their way to make a living. Nonetheless, how can they pay attention to their kids? Okay? Number 4, 30 to 40 members in each class. You can imagine 30, 40 students in the whole class. 2 periods for English class per week. So we have only 2 hours of learning English. And you know that 2 hours per week and 5 weeks comes an examination. So totally we have 10 or 12 hours to learn English, and then there comes a big test for them. Okay? No confidence in English. no doubt, okay? Let alone interest or even diligence. So they just pay attention to A, B, C, D, A, B, C, D, okay? I just imitate their pronunciation. It should be A, B, C, D. Okay, so you know that when I accept a new class, I always teach them how to say A, B, C, not A, B, C, D, G, D. Okay, and they are very easily get distracted in class. Their concentration on one thing lasts only 5 to 10 minutes, and then they get distracted. Some unfamiliar with the alphabets, some. I dare not say all of them. But you know, a class of 30 to 40 students, nearly 10 to 50% cannot get familiar with the alphabets. So arrogant Andy, it is hardest for me, okay? My teaching activity, so far, I don't think it's an activity. I just regard it as an experiment. An experiment with this kind of method, okay? Imitation, repetition, pair practice, self-practicing, games for fun, if time permits, and then maybe games. But to tell the truth, I will not be a liar. I'm a sincere liar. All I can do in my class is just a number 1, number 2, and these 2 is hard to be held, really, because of my bully students. And games are fun, yeah, everyone like it, because learning by playing by learning, okay? And maybe now you just felt, what I'm talking about, what are you going to teach? Yeah. Regarding the 4 skills of language, listening, speaking, reading and writing, finally I get to realize that why listening comes first. Because with your ear, with your sense to hear something, with attention, then you can be willing to learn something, to say something. So the teacher plays the role as a funny actor. Don't you know I'm a funny actress? In my class, if you come to my class, you will see my students all laughing. Why? Because I'm a clown, not a teacher, okay? Rather than an instructor. Okay. Because I always have my executive facial expressions and loud voices. And then they are willing to open their mouths to imitate the clown. Whatever the clown make, the sounds the teachers make, they are willing to follow. To make students attentive, usually rhythm by teacher beating desk or flipping fingers are adopted. So I have no teaching material. All the teaching materials are in myself and with the students. Okay, I'll use fingers or beating something, and the students just only have to use their ear, their mouth, and of course their mind, their hearts, and then they can have a good time in my English class. Repetition, yeah. Because my students just came from the junior high. So I will start from the vocabulary. I will not say vocabulary, I will say words, new words learning. And it's hard for them to spell a word. Nonetheless, set it out. So it takes me a long time to train them, to entertain them, to open and follow my sound. Okay. So I start from pronouncing the sounds of phonetic symbols, but I'm disgusted with phonetic symbols. I don't think it's meaningful for students, okay, or even for English learner. It is just a symbol, okay. I prefer to have them have the linking with the letters and sounds. Okay? A syllable drill comes after that. Students imitate one syllable to multiple ones, and repetition ends up with loud and happy voices in the classroom. So maybe I'll stop here, and I will just do a demonstration. Just imagine you are my students, although you are all teachers, okay? And maybe I just say some words because it takes time for them to recognize the alphabet. So if we have the new word, such like repetition, and I will ask my student, just repeat that to me. You just repeat that to me. Repetition. 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 And then rep. They should say rep. R-E. P. T. Shen. T-I-O-N. Repeat what they repetition. So in my class, okay, they have the sound making, and once they pay attention to the sound making and the rhythm and the beating, and they all said it. And once one of them spelled wrong because, for example, repetition, rep, and one of them or two of them say R-E-P, and we call it Fang Hao. Oh, the one who made mistakes will be feeling very not shameful, very embarrassed, and then he will improve. And the punishment for the men who Fang Hao, I don't know how to say Fang Hao. That means okay, you do something wrong just for fun, not seriously grammatical.
So no, horse around.
Yeah, and then there should be some prize or some punishment for them. It's very easy. Just okay, 1 coin, $1. No, $1. Okay, and then there will be for the class to use. Okay, and then this part just for your reference, okay, just skip it, okay. If in the group they can repeat after me for the whole word list, and then I think, okay, they are willing to learn more, okay. So just skip it, okay. Teachers play the role as an observer rather than a leader. If we are in pair practice, okay, because we put students pair group, and then they will have this kind of demonstration as the teacher did before. And then self-practicing is hard. Okay, I'm just still trying to experiment with it. Games for fun. I skip to games for fun because time is not allowed for me to say more. Okay, games for fun. Learning by game is favorable to both teachers and students. Okay. So, teaching by playing, learning by playing. Otherwise, you can say playing by teaching or playing by learning. Never last too long, lest students should become bored and exhausted. And maybe you doubt, what game you play? It's easy. For example, as Eric and Andy mentioned, running dictation. You know, all the QT teachers from Taiwan are fond of having the running dictation for their students. But it is for text, for passage. It can be happening in my class. So I just minimize 2 words. I pin some words on the wall and have they do the dictation. So the one who see the word must spell it and repeat it, and then come to the writer, and then he just repeats the word. So that's the good way, and then they exchange. So games are flexible, okay, but never last too long. Otherwise, they will become bored and exhausted. So use only once or twice a semester, and that's enough. And they will expect you, teacher, more games for me. But I say, yeah, okay, maybe next time. Okay, making them expecting something, it is a good way, okay? Teachers must be fair in judging games. Okay, you know, students are worried about their game results, so teachers should be fair. But the best way is that all the participants have their prize, the candy or something else, okay? Or the books, you know? Being a teacher, I know that we have free books from the publishers. Maybe you can give away some to your better students. In my definition, favorite student is not always the one who get high scores. Once they improve themselves, okay, they sustain their interest. I think that's all better students. Personal adaptation of students. Three classes of first grader is the lowest level in English, as you know. And my main purpose is that making them get interested in English. That's motivation. As the two presenters just mentioned, motivation is the best demand for learning. I will not say learning English, but English learning is fundamental in this society. Not for, I do not prefer to say that for school reports or for examination results. I would like to say it's for lifelong learning. And since this is a global village, okay? Maybe you get high scores in school, but after you are out of school, you will never use English again. And I think what you learn in school is nothing. You must keep on learning and learning. How can you keep learning language, especially English? And that's the motivation, that's the interest for your concentration. Okay? Get students adapt themselves to self-learning in English. Self-learning, I do not mean in classroom or at house. I mean lifelong self-learning. Okay? And I feel very awkward to say that being a teacher, yeah, learning English is just for teaching. It's shameful. But after I joined this training program in QUT, at least I learned something that I must keep on learning English, especially speaking. Evaluation. Not all evaluation should be assessed by paper test. I do not like this one. Questionnaire can be adopted to ask students about their response to this activity. To say questionnaire is too serious. I just maybe chat with the students, of course in Mandarin, and ask her or him about their response, their like or dislike about this class. Interview students to talk about their reflection to the non-questionnaire. Okay, that's a lie. That's for official chat. I don't think I have more. Reflection. Purpose is to the students' interest and encourage them to learn the language. Okay, let them know learning English not for schooling, but for lifelong learning. And focus on one aim only in an activity. You know, all the teachers just say 4 skills. I have to enhance my students to learn the 4 skills of language. I don't think it's possible. It is step by step. And the fundamental request is interest, motivation. Okay? Interest, motivation. So my mission is to arouse their motivation. Pay attention to students' different individual needs. And maybe you will say, oh, what about those students in your class who have a higher level than the others? And then I will appoint them some difficult task. I will give them books, outside reading book or anything, because it's easy for me to get free books. But once the student get a book, they will think, oh, my teacher look highly on me, so I will keep on learning. Apply proper and interesting teaching rather than demanding instruction. Apply proper and interesting teaching. Just as I say, teaching is very flexible. It is not fixed. Because maybe the classroom atmosphere or the feelings of the students vary every day. And even the teacher has different feelings or working pressure. So all the methods are not fixed. It can be changed or altered. Be a helpful observer, not a ruling leader. And Andy say, be a guide. Guide, just lead them. But just an observer, a timely helper to them. Because they have to learn by themselves. All the teachers do just give them some tips about learning English. And okay, I have to make it clear. Yeah. So far, that's the end of my presentation. And I would like to know, do you have any comments on my presentation? So I get it reversed. John, do you have any comments?
I have a couple of questions about your students. You said they just finished junior high, and some of them are not familiar or not very accurate with the alphabet.
Yeah.
Can they read? What's their reading level like?
Because they are not interested in learning, not only English, but it is compulsory for the students to enter primary school, junior high, senior high. So the school have to accept them.
What about their reading skill?
Let alone reading skill. So reading is a long, long time to go for my students. And writing, impossible. So composition, no.
So these tests every 10 weeks, who sets the test?
We call it a monthly examination.
It sounds, if they can't read it, it sounds like the test is just a joke.
No, not a joke. Okay, they have to memorize all the vocabulary, and it takes about 50%. So once the students can memorize the words, then maybe they can get passed.
So how do they do it? Do they pass?
Nearly.
Right.
Otherwise, if they are flunked, they will have a makeup test. If they flunk the makeup test, then they have to have a, how do we call it? Makeup classes, and they have to pay their tuition for the makeup class.
So is this test the same test that students of a higher ability in a better school, they do the same test, the same playing?
No. Each school has their own paper test.
Oh, okay.
So compare with the students in the city, my students are rather poor. So all I can do is just let them have confidence in learning, not only in English, but once they are motivated. For example, I have my formality for my students. When I come into the classroom, I will say, excuse me, if no one responds, then I won't get into the classroom. So they make it a rule to do it. And then maybe they will take, yes, and then I'll say, may I come in? And some naughty boy may say, no, and then I'll stay there. But normally they will say, yes, come in please, and then I come. And then I have an announcer for each class. Okay, 5 minutes. Okay, so I'm the one who uses most of the time. have an announcer to say the salutation, stand up, bow, and then we will have a formal chatting. Good morning, Francis. Good morning, teacher. And then I'll say good morning. That's just the greeting. But after the greeting, before they sit down, I will have some daily chatting with them. Okay, regarding the popular events, for example, Diamond, the song Diamond, or the baseball game, now the classical baseball game, and just one sentence or two sentences, and then they will try to respond to me. Yeah, I think that's the way, one of the ways to make them not afraid of English. And also I ask them, whenever they see me on the campus, they cannot run away. They have to come to me and just say, hello, good morning, Miss Wu. Hey, so after one semester, they are used to saying greeting to teachers. I can't say so to other teachers, but at least to me, they will say it. And one of my students who graduated from our school and then get a better degree in other school, he got a job, part-time job in McDonald's. And when he got to the interview, it is a custom for them to get into the room and say, excuse me. So the interviewer said, okay, you get a job. So just use English as often or as possible as you can in your daily life. I think it's the only way for our teaching English to students, okay? Because schooling is limited, but life is long. So that's do you have any question? I'm so talkative. So that's it.
Can I ask you something? Keep going about the students and the I don't know how many of you heard of an activity called storytelling, where if the students' level is really low, the students tell you what they want to say about something, and you construct the story for them, with them, in English. So, for example, about the baseball game, Australia doesn't follow baseball, but I believe there's a big game. Taiwanese team is playing in like a world team championship. Okay. If they're interested in that, you can ask them to say, okay, what do you want to say about it? And translate it for them into simple English and have them involved in the process of constructing that English and then make them say it. So they've been involved in the production, they've seen the relationship between the words and the spelling and so on, and finally they get to say it. But after a lot of exposure, and they should be quite confident. I'm not talking about paragraph, even just a sentence. Like, Taiwan will win this baseball competition. Even as simple as that. Because it sounds like their level is a real challenge for you. Yeah.
So sometimes I use songs, but they are not qualified to understand the whole lyric of a song, but they can repeat some of the words. For example, curiosity, and then curiosity. So all students say curiosity, and then they are curious about what's the meaning of curiosity, and then they learn it, and they will never forget it. And just call me, maybe. Just call me maybe. Just call me maybe. It's a popular song, for the young kids. You know that song? No. This is my number. Call me maybe. Hey. And they repeat the sentences, and then once some boy interested in somebody, hey, this is my number. Just call me maybe. And one more song, Diamond. They will never forget the word diamond, and they can spell it perfectly. You know why? Diamond. And then I try to push them to learn more. Shining bright like a diamond. Just word, diamond, but a diamond. Like a diamond. And they learn it. Okay, shining like a diamond. And so, that's my steps to teach them. So, I cannot teach my students to get high scores in English tests, but at least I ask myself, at least they will never forget me because of the time, okay? So that's it, thank you.
What will these guys do after school when they finish?
Yeah, it's easy.
Internet cafe. And maybe they join the club, you know, 三太子. You know, there's a religious dancing. They join the club for the temples, okay, and the internet club, or they go to karaoke.
Sorry, I don't mean after school every day. I mean after graduation from high school.
They just try to find a job, but it is hard for them to find a suitable job. Because my school is a vocational school, and you know that especially agriculture vocational school, agriculture is dying by and by. So after they graduate, some of them just have a labor work, or the girls, they will go to a service industry as a waitress or waiter. And some of them who are really good, they will step into the university or technology school. And after that, they still have to find a job. And as they told me, after they graduate from university or technology college, they told me that, Francis, English is important in my job. I regret not pay more attention to your English class, but at least I can say some more. I think the purpose is fulfilled for me. Okay? So, any more questions? And by the way, yeah, I'm old enough to get retired, so maybe this is the last time for me to have such kind of official presentation. But as you know, I'm not well prepared. I just share my experience, teaching experience with you. Okay? So, if your students are not qualified with what you expect them to do on the results of any examination, don't get furious with them. Okay? Just maybe just leave something for them after they graduate, after they leave you, and then they will have some teacher to memorize. And I hope that I will be the teacher for them to remember. Okay? So, any more?
All right. So it sounds like you have a pretty challenging job, Francis. But I think you sound like you're the right person for the job.
So you have to lower your face, okay? Because students don't want to look at you like you are the teacher. They want to regard you as their friends. So don't make a poker face to them. Just lower your level. I mean that just the friendship, not your education level. You know that? Yeah. So anything more? So time for lunch?
Well, lunch is 12:30, but I think we can go early if no one else has any other points to discuss. Anyone want to do that? Okay. All right, well, we'll come back here after lunch. So lunch is going to be downstairs in the room where we started, right? Well, thank you to Eric, Henry, and Francis. That was very interesting. 3 completely different